Like anybody, he's concerned about going to jail. But if they put him in jail for his First Amendment right, he will be like Nelson Mandela.
Multiple reports now that Trump has been sleeping in court both of the first 2 days of his first of 4 criminal trials. Trump's failed former lawyer, Alina Habba, was interviewed by Fox News' Martha McCallum yesterday, and she denies that Trump was sleeping in court.
Just have a second, but there's 2 reports both days of him falling asleep in court. Any reaction to that? Is he tired? Has he just been running around a lot, or any thoughts on that?
If anything, he's probably brutally bored. I mean, it's painful. They make him sit there through jury selection. The first day was procedural, but no, I've heard that report. It's unlikely. I know him. I sat through trial after trial with him. That never happens.
Well,
so President Trump is incredibly focused.
Yeah. Now, who do you believe? The close to 10 reporters who saw Trump sleeping both days and were in the courtroom, or his own former lawyer turned media spokesperson who makes money by working with Trump, who was not actually in the courtroom on this particular day? You tell me who you believe. Now, then we get to the really interesting parts of this interview. As interesting as it is to hear Alina Habba say, of course, Trump wasn't sleeping, we get to the part where she doesn't seem to understand why the trial is in New York. Alina Habba, in this portion of the interview, suggests that there is only politics for why this trial is happening in New York, rather than it's the place where the alleged crimes took place.
Sure. Thank you. I think that we're seeing a painful, unfortunately, selection because we're in the state of New York, which is definitely by design. There is no question that Bragg bringing this in New York, look at the Fulton County DA and so on and so forth, Washington, D.C. These venues are selected exactly for this reason, Martha, so that they have a blue state with a blue pool. There's only.
There you go. So I don't know if she paid someone to show up and take the bar exam for her, or if she knows that she's spewing nonsense for political reasons and that what she's saying isn't actually true. The reason that this trial is in New York is that's where the alleged crimes took place. The reason that the Washington, D.C. trial is in D.C. is that that's where the alleged election interference took place. The reason that the Georgia case is in Georgia and in Fulton County, it's because that's the state where it took place. It was investigated in the Capitol, which is where the primary investigators and prosecutors work. And thus, that is where Donald Trump has been charged. There's no conspiracy here other than every single one. Well, why not try Trump in Montana or Utah, where he could get a much better jury? Because none of the alleged crimes took place there. It's very simple. What about the question of Trump in prison? Alina Habba was asked during this very same interview by Martha McCallum, is Trump worried about being thrown in jail for violating all of the admonishments placed by the judge? Alina Habba says if he does go to jail, it'll make him even more like Nelson Mandela. Oh boy, how disconnected from reality do you have to be to think there's anything in common that Trump shares with Nelson Mandela?
Or these jury members are chosen, which is obviously something that's a bit of a concern. But I want to go back to my question before I let you go. Do you think that this threat of 30 days in jail will change the social media actions of the former president in any way, or will he keep doing this?
I don't think so. I think that he is respectful, but there has to be boundaries and we should appeal it. It's currently on appeal. So there's also a due process element to this. We have the items on appeal in this case that have not yet been heard.
Is he concerned about the possibility of being sent to jail as a ramification of these? He's not
He would love it.
Concerned about being sent to jail.
I think like anybody, he's concerned about going to jail. But if they put him in jail for his First Amendment right, he will be like Nelson Mandela. I mean, that would be just absurd. And frankly, they'll win him the election.
I just have a second. But, there's 2 reports both days of him falling asleep.
All right. Now they go to the falling asleep stuff. It would be a little bit different for Trump to be thrown in jail for attacking the daughter of a judge who has nothing to do with the trial than Nelson Mandela. And the funny part about it is the people who see Trump as a pseudo deity, I don't know that they're necessarily that big on Nelson Mandela. In other words, I don't think people on the left will see Trump as a Mandela-like figure if he is thrown in jail for violating gag orders or skipping trial or whatever the case it is. And I don't think the people on the right see Mandela as a figure to be admired. So I don't know that they're going to liken Trump to Nelson Mandela either. It's all very weird, but I don't see Trump as a Mandela-like figure. I wonder how much Alina Habba even knows about Nelson Mandela. So there is the commentary. This is not exactly, sometimes there are trials where you look at the cable news establishment and you really have legal commentators and analysts that are prestigious and knowledgeable. Fox News and Newsmax are not exactly hearing from the best when it comes to legal opinion, but I'm sure we will continue to hear from Alina Habba. Let's take a break. I want to talk about the broader circumstances in the presidential campaign that is indeed still taking place, as well as some other things. So we'll take a quick break. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, youtube.com/David Pakman Show. Today's sponsor, Ground News, is an app and website that quickly shows you how news is being covered across the political spectrum, adding context and making it easy to understand the polarizing events like the election season that we're in. If you're watching this on YouTube, Donald Trump and Joe Biden secured their party's nominations for a historic presidential rematch. So I'll be looking at Ground News's election page for minute-to-minute updates on the issues that matter most and the blind spots in the left and right's election coverage. So, for example, check out the breakdown on why the GOP's Biden impeachment appears to be falling apart. Ground News found more than 20 articles published on this, but I can see it's a near total blind spot for people only following right-leaning news. I wonder why. And looking over here, many of these articles come from reliable sources, with each giving me some new detail, and reading their summary of this from each political viewpoint really just gets me up to speed in seconds on any issue. So make separating fact from noise easier this election by going to ground.news/Pakman. My viewers get 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan, making it just $5 a month. The link is down below.